athletes that go out there and just perform. Like you don't just see athletes doing gymnastics anymore. And this is across the board. They are performing gymnastics. And I think that is really cool and really exciting to see because it just makes it really enjoyable to watch. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to season 3 of Flipping Out with Bridget Sloan. I'm your host, Bridget Sloan, and this season we have been talking all things NCAA gymnastics, from the athletes to the coaches to the insiders who make it all happen. And for today's episode, the final episode of season 3, we are recapping the NCAA finals. Let's get into it. All right, here we are. The finals. We are going to dissect the finals because semifinals, as we know, it was crazy. It was wild. There were lots of surprises. And I felt like the finals was not as surprising. And I'm going to get into kind of why those were my thoughts. But all right, let's just dive into it because so the finals consisted of Utah, Missouri, Oklahoma, and UCLA. So those were the 4 on the floor, which actually I don't even know if that's officially trademarked, but that's what kind of people call it, and I dig it. I'm behind it. So I'm just gonna go by each team and what their final standing was. So coming in 4th was Utah, and I didn't see that one coming. I really didn't. And I also want to just point out that all 4 of these teams, this was not a surprise that all 4 of these teams were competing in the finals. I think, like we mentioned in the semifinal episode, this was one of the first NCAA championships where all 8 teams, not surprised that they were there. There was no surprise. There was no like, oh my gosh, they must have just had an easy regional. No, because easy regionals do not exist anymore. So for Utah, Missouri, UCLA, and Oklahoma to be in the finals, not surprising. But maybe to have Utah finish in 4th was a little bit more of the surprise. And I didn't get to like do a whole view, I guess, in real time at NCAA's because Trinity and I had Missouri and Oklahoma. So those were the 2 events that we were streaming back and forth, or 2 teams that we were streaming back and forth. So for Utah, from what I gathered and from what I watched when I watched it back, they started on bars and the momentum was there. They posted a really nice, like 49, I believe 49.45. So like a pretty solid score, especially at NCAA's, because you have to remember you have 6 judges that are watching you. The highest and the lowest get dropped, and then they average the remaining 4. So for them to go 49.45 on uneven bars, I was like, wow, okay, great. Like really nice start for them. And Grace anchored with a huge 9.95. So Utah goes into rotation. Well, they go into rotation 2 sitting in 3rd because there was a tie. So 2 teams tied for that first rotation. So again, they go into rotation 2. They're going to beam, which is a good event for them, in my opinion. I think that they're really strong on all 4. The biggest hurdle for Utah is Utah itself. I think it's so easy to get really tight and get really tense and kind of let nerves get involved. And I didn't really see it in rotation 2 from what I watched, but that rotation 2 is kind of where things got a little tricky. Amelie Morgan went 9.6875 and she's in their leadoff. So not disastrous. There's still 5 athletes competing after her, but it puts a lot of pressure on those remaining 5 athletes. So balance beam, the hardest event in gymnastics, no questions asked. When you want your leadoff to be just solid. Like you need your leadoff to be almost a guaranteed hit, and a guarantee, maybe not the highest score, but some of them are, but really just a guaranteed hit to really get that momentum going, get the ball rolling so that every athlete after is like, okay, amazing. They did their job. I just have to do mine. And it almost looked when I watched it back, it looked like there was just a little bit more pressure on them. You know, having your leadoff just have like mistakes is really tough, but they didn't panic and they survived. They survived the remaining five, did a really nice routine. So they survived rotation two. And I feel like the energy, though, there was a really big shift in the energy. And you could see athletes being really excited, but I don't know, just from and maybe it's because I was them and I have absolutely been in national championships where I don't have a good event and it shows in my face and then everybody else looks at me and they see it and it just kind of like brings the mood down. So I don't know if that happened. I'm not speculating, but just from what I saw, it just looked like there was a little bit of a shift. A little bit of a shift in the mood, a little bit of shift in the energy going into rotation three, which for Utah was four. And there really wasn't, oh my gosh, wait, pause. I completely forgot. There was a fall on balance beam. Duh. Hello. That's why the energy was down. I was like, wait, I feel like I'm missing something. Yes. So rewind, roll it back. Utah on balance beam, Emily Morgan, she has her mistake. She doesn't fall, but she has a mistake. Grace does fall. And very uncharacteristic mistake, very uncharacteristic just routine in general. So that's why the energy had shifted. So unfortunately, the pressure did get to Grace. And this is an athlete who is outstanding. She is a legend in gymnastics. She is a legend at this program. This meet does not define who she is as a Utah athlete. But in this situation, she did have a mistake, a very big mistake. So unfortunately, they had to count that leadoff score. And that is where the mood, no wonder. Hello. I knew that I was right. The mood shifted, the energy shifted. And it's really hard. And I can speak this from experience. It is really, really challenging to go into an event such as floor. And that is where normally the excitement happens. And when you have a bad beam rotation, you have to dig so deep to throw it away because let's be honest, gymnasts are perfectionists. We are. Whatever. It's fine. But that means when we make mistakes, it's sometimes really hard to kind of like disregard it and move on because you want to go back. You want to rewind. You want to be like, hey, can I just redo that routine really quick? Super uncharacteristic mistake for me. Let me try again. Doesn't happen. So going into floor exercise, it's kind of like, okay, energy's down, but we got to get it back. And floor is a really good event for them. So when you're watching it, you're thinking, okay, this is where we can get it back. And I wouldn't say that they didn't get energy back, but Grace had a minor mistake. She went out of bounds. And that is what's called a neutral deduction. So no ifs, ands, or buts, no question. Foot steps out of the white line. Deduction, 1/10 of a point. But I will say it just going into vault. So, all right, we're into rotation three for Utah. They're on floor. They do great floor routines. Grace goes out of bounds. I think ending on vault is hard. I do. I think ending on vault is really challenging because you want to end on like one of your best events. At least from my experience, ending I don't think I've ever ended on vault. Maybe that's why I don't really know what it's like, but ending on an event that like is one of your best events, it just gets the juices up. And Utah ended on vault. Didn't have a ton of mistakes on vault necessarily for the first five, but it was just tight. Like that's where it really showed the energy was down. And you could, you're on TV. We started to see some faces here and there. And I know it's hard. Like it's so much easier to just it's just easier to show your emotion on your face. And normally, let's be honest, as humans, we do. But for Utah, that fourth rotation was pretty solidified of They are not going to win a national championship. And it just was not a good rotation for them. And it's also what stinks is it's an event that tends to go quicker. But the old format, vault always ended way before every single event. So that's also what made it really challenging is that you're done and you're just watching. And sometimes maybe your team stayed at number one, and other times it just dropped and dropped and dropped. So I think ending on vault is really hard. Um, there were a lot of good routines though throughout the meet for Utah, and one in particular was Avery Neff on vault. She's a rock star freshman. She was really had a phenomenal year. Had some ups and downs though, dealt with an injury, came back. Honestly, I think she looked even stronger. She drilled her 1.5. Like, you know, those routines that you watch or those moments in the gymnastics world where you're like, wow, what on earth are the judges going to take off? Of course, they always normally find something, but her vault, like, she was an athlete to me that even when, you know, maybe you looked at the scoreboard and you're like, there's no way we can win, she never let up. Like, I was really impressed by her momentum, her power. Her gymnastics was really, really nice and clean. So she like does this amazing 1.5, and I'm like, wow, no, they would need some help in order to surpass. They would need some help from the other teams, which they did not get, but had a huge mistake on the sixth person, Zoe Johnson. It honestly looked like her hand slipped, which all I was thinking when I rewatched it, all I was thinking was she knew that vault was not going to land on her feet. As soon as her hands hit the vault, you saw her hand slide. I- If you're a gymnast and you've been in this situation, you know, like it's like when you let go of the bar on a release move, like, you know, you're like, yeah, this is not going to catch the bar. Prepare for landing. Please don't knock the wind out of me. Like, that's what I used to think whenever I knew that I was not going to make a skill, which was quite often. Um, so unfortunately for Utah, they ended on vault and they ended up finishing the meet in fourth. And this is not to say that they should not be proud of themselves because they made it to the finals, which is something to be proud of all on its own. As we've seen throughout this entire season, gymnastics, it's good. Like these athletes are raising the bar. They're doing gymnastics just better and better every week. So being able to say that you made it to the finals is huge. I do kind of feel like the pressure that athletes put on themselves just by themselves is a lot. It's a lot. And Utah is a program that, gosh, they've always been so close. They've always been so close. And they have so much talent. They have so much talent. They've definitely dealt with some highs and lows with the program and some coaching changes, and that's always really challenging, I think, when programs go through that, but they never really let up throughout the entire season. They have a phenomenal fan base. Like, they have some of the most passionate fans in NCAA gymnastics. I'll stand on that. And they travel, which is really cool. I think that's really, really cool that not only are their fans amazing when they're at home, but they travel. But I wonder if sometimes as an athlete, you know, again, you put that pressure on yourself just from yourself. And, you know, Utah is a program that there's a lot of history there. A lot of history, the legacy, the talent in that program from years past and for years to come. I would never count a team out that has made it to NCAA championships, and Utah is a team that I have a feeling they will be back stronger than ever, because sometimes when you have a mistake at an NCAA championships and the team kind of maybe goes through something that they're like, wait, why are we in fourth? You know, why? You kind of have to come back and sit back and say, okay, we're not going to let that happen again. So again, Utah had a phenomenal season. They ended their season in fourth place, and they're on to bigger, better things for 2026. Moving on. Missouri. Holy moly. This is a team that, gosh, I was just really excited for them. And I think it's fair to say that my excitement really just came from the energy that just like radiated off of them. They're just a really, really fun team to watch. They were fun all season long. And I do think that NCAA's, it was like, you have nothing to lose here. But also, like, don't count us out. Um, their head coach, Shannon Welker, was saying, they really did not appreciate being called an underdog, which I do understand. They're like, we're not underdogs, we're undeniable. And that just like touched my soul. That was really cool. Not only to have him like tell it to my face, I was like, dang, okay. And they're totally undeniable. Their season, they had their best season in history. If you watched Missouri gymnastics, you watched history being made, which is really freaking cool, especially big for the SEC. Woo. Okay, so Missouri, they started on vaults. And vault has been like kind of an Achilles heel for them. It's not their best event, but they've never really showed like, we're just not like that great at vault. They've never ever showed that. But vault judging was a little bit tight throughout the entire meet. So you can't really come out of it and say that there was judging for other teams that was less or more. Like I actually felt like judging on vault was pretty even, which is great. Really, really good to see. But they were really steady throughout that first rotation. Like they weren't really, their first 4 or first 5 were really good. Not great, but good. And then Amari Celestine, she is awesome. Not just as an athlete, but just as a human being. If you have the privilege to meet her, you are very fortunate because she is just incredible, inside and out, like just incredible human being. But I felt like she was kind of the game changer in this first rotation. Goes to vault, she gets a 9-9, and like it was almost as if they kind of came out of that first rotation. They were not in first place. They were, they were in 4th going into the second rotation. Not a big deal because everyone knows gymnastics is not over until the last event, the last skill. We all know how it works. But I kind of felt like there was like a little shift in the like team's demeanor, a little swagger, one might say. And they go to bars, which is one of their best events. For me, their best events are really bars, beam, and floor. But I think bars and floor is where they really can pull away. And this is an event that they just like really improved on all season long. Their coaching staff really just dialed in for them on basics and it showed. And it was really, really cool to kind of see them perform bars, not just do bars, if that makes sense. So they went into the second rotation, energy was high, momentum was going, and they finished the second rotation really, really well. They never, one thing I want to point out about Missouri, like they never stop being themselves. Like they're unapologetically themselves and they love to have fun. They love to do great gymnastics, but the pressure that they put on themselves, I feel like is just so light. Like they were just so grateful to be there and so happy. And you could tell that they were just like, heck yeah, we're here and we're going to do our best. And that's all we can do. And they just had like, I feel like they had a really good mindset. And when they went into balance beam, they had a great beam rotation. They did. Like they were strong, they were solid, but Helen Hu, hello. Helen Hu will go down in history as one of, if not, well, one of, there's a lot of great beam workers in the NCAA, but she is without a doubt one of the best beam workers in the NCAA. So heck yeah. Helen Hu, anchoring beam. She has such a cool story too. So they end rotation 3. They're doing well. Again, they're happy, they're excited, but they are headed into their best event. They are called the Fab Floor. Their assistant coach, Jackie Turpak, shout out Jackie, choreographs the routines so well. I I'm gonna admit something that I really only started realizing this season. Like, I almost wish I could go back and get a new floor routine. Like at 32, turning 33, I would like to get a floor routine choreographed. I just want to see if I could do it because I felt like my routines were not as energized as the ones that we see. And I feel like my cardio would not be up to par, but theirs is, and really exciting for them. And Jackie just did an awesome job with their entire choreography, and they showed up and showed out for floor. They have huge tumbling, have again this amazing choreography, and Jocelyn Moore, Amari Celestine, Hannah Horton, just like athletes that go out there and just perform. Like you don't just see athletes doing gymnastics anymore, and this is across the board. They are performing gymnastics, and I think that is really cool and really exciting to see because it just makes it really enjoyable to watch. So that was really, really amazing to see them have not just one good event, but really 4 strong events. And they had the best season in school history. Let me repeat that. Best season in school history. How freaking cool to be part of that. I have always said, there have been a couple teams that I've always said, watch out. Wait until they flip that switch. Wait until they actually are able to put 4 events, 24 for 24 together. Like you just wait. And Missouri was one of my teams. They were. I have always been a big fan of Shannon Welker and the program itself. I competed there all 4 years, loved competing there. My family always was able to come, so that's probably why. But this is just a program that really they kind of had their like show out year in a way. And that was really cool to see. And Amari Celestine, she's a rock star. Her energy is infectious. Helen, who, like I said, will go down in history as one of the best athletes at Missouri. If not one of the, well, she will be known in my eyes as one of the best beam workers in NCAA history. So love that for her. And I just want to say, Jocelyn and Hannah and Mara, I just think we could all be friends. I really love your vibe. It's always really fun being able to talk to you guys and see you. I love being able to see athletes obviously on the competition floor, but then when they're not on the competition floor, maybe the meet ends, like it's just like so refreshing. And yeah, I think we could be friends at some point in our lives. So anyway, Missouri, they end their season, best season ever, in third, which was really, really exciting. And again, you talk about a team that was just they were just so proud. And Utah, so incredibly proud. And it's so amazing to see these athletes just perform their hearts out, even if they don't end up taking the title. It's still just something to be proud of that you made it that far. You did your best. You did everything you could. And that's that. Moving on to UCLA. I think it's called an 8 clap. I believe so. If someone from UCLA wants to let me know, that'd be cool. But UCLA, oh man, they made it interesting in the best way possible. Not interesting and like, oh wow, I'm so surprised. No, no, I was not surprised. UCLA has had a really outstanding season. They've been climbing, 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 doing really just great gymnastics. And I was not surprised at all to see them in the finals. Wasn't surprised at all. What I was more impressed by is how UCLA has athletes that have so much grit. Like they just do not give up and they fight and they hold on to their landings even when they're, I'll get into it, but there was an athlete on beam that she ended her dismount, had the arm swing, but man, you saw her toes just like curling, squeezing the mat. And yeah, you want to talk about athletes with grit that do not give up. It was, in my eyes, a team that did that and showed that was UCLA. And UCLA for the finals, they started on floor, which is without a doubt their best event. I mean, I think UCLA is a floor and beam school. I also think they're a bar school, but I was told that they are more of a floor and beam school, but it's my podcast and I think they're a bar school too. So, anyway, they started on floor and they crushed it per usual. Not surprising at all. UCLA has always been known for their artistry, always been known for their dance, always been known just for really powerful routines, really routines that tell stories. I never told a story when I competed ever. If anything, it was like a short story, a children's book, really just simple words, not a lot of pages, really quick. Where now these athletes are like, they're performing and doing like art. Like Brooklyn, your floor routine is a work of art. Like I don't know any other way to say it. And she's also the NCAA floor champion. Well deserved. Not surprised there. Okay, but getting back to it. UCLA finals. Starting on floor, they crush it, have a phenomenal floor rotation. They go into rotation 2 tied with Oklahoma. Like, hello. Way to make it interesting right from the start. That's cool. Really exciting to watch. So they go into rotation 2, which is vault. And I just don't really think like I'm not saying that these teams are not strong on vault, but I just feel like vault is an event where I kept seeing everybody try so hard to stick. And vault is an event when you try to stick, you probably won't. It's science. Like I don't know how it works, but it does. And I just felt like they were trying a little too hard, but they survived. Like it was not a rotation that they faltered. It wasn't a rotation where I saw huge mistakes, but I I put don't do too much, but do enough to stay in the mix. And that's kind of what they did. Like they did just enough to make sure that they were still going strong into rotation 3. But I will say vault is an event where a lot of teams gave tenths away just across the board, like all 8 teams coming into the NCAA championships. Vault was an event that gave them away. Couple under rotations, you're taking the step backs and you're taking hops forward. And I will say it is also a lot harder to stick on podium. Like you almost have to be, I mean, I don't want to say you have to be perfect, but you kind of have to be perfect because the podium makes it so much bouncier. So vault is tricky. Also, runways on vault, not a fan. Normally they're brand new. They're so incredibly slippery. Not a good time. Don't miss that at all. So again, UCLA, they go to vault, they do their thing. They're going to rotation 3. We're like, oh my gosh, they're going to bars, which I really love them on bars because it's an event that I just think they've really improved. I do. And I love to see teams improve throughout the season. I think that's one of the coolest things about being an analyst is you get to watch teams really from like meet 1 and follow them through their entire season and their journey. And it's really cool to see teams that you're just like, wow, like, remember when you were at the first meet ever and you were going like 975 and now you're going 995? Progress, improvement. That's what we like to see. So I just think Janelle crushes it on bars. I think she does an awesome job and her excitement level is like top tier. She gets some height on her celebrations. Really cool to see. Hopefully she always lands on her feet, so really impressive. Yeah, bars again, nothing like crazy. Jordan Childs doing Jordan Childs things. She went like 99625. Hello. Not bad. Not bad. But going into rotation 4, they're going into balance beam or they're going to balance beam. Some teams want to get balance beam over with. Some teams maybe feel like having it in the middle is the way to do it. Some teams think ending on balance beam is the way to go. I think it is whatever rotation you get, you make the best of it. And UCLA went into balance beam, which they are so strong on balance beam. They actually had the highest beam score in the semis, which speaks volume because there's a lot of good teams and they had the highest. So really all they needed to do, and I say that as if I was the one competing, but they really wanted to copy and paste essentially of what they did in semis and do it in the finals. And they would really be giving Oklahoma a run for their money, which they already were. Like they were going into the third rotation. I believe it was like they were only behind Oklahoma by like 0.3375 maybe. So something very small margin. But I do balance beam kind of got the best of them. They didn't have a fall, but they did have some mistakes. And I feel like the race was so tight that mistakes just are not going mistakes are not going to help you win. There's only been one team, I believe, in history to ever win a national championship with the fall. It was Florida in 2013. I don't know how we did it either, but we did. That will not ever happen again. So the mistakes that UCLA had, very, very minor. Caitlin Rosen, she just had a big bobble. But the one thing that impressed me with UCLA is even when mistakes happened or athletes had, the big balance checks, it was almost like you saw them take a really big, like deep breath and like center themselves almost. And who knows, maybe they were doing that to kind of like get their rhythm back. It was kind of cool to see. Like obviously I don't want to see athletes make a mistake, but they made these mistakes. And then it was cool to see them like take a deep breath, ground themselves, get them back on track, and then nail the rest of the routine. But I really was impressed by the way that they fought. They never gave up. They competed their hearts out. I mean, every team here, every athlete is going to compete their heart out, and UCLA did just that. Emma Malabuyo, I love you. I do. I think you're an amazing athlete. I think you are one of the sweetest human beings to walk the earth. And your beam routine was so good. Like, so good. Jordan Childs also nailed her beam routine. You want to talk about having a athlete with like crazy international experience come to your team? Yeah. In moments like this, that is where it makes a big difference. Pressure makes diamonds. And I feel like some athletes thrive in high pressure situations. I'm not saying that every athlete does, but every athlete that I saw compete just rose to the occasion, which was really, really cool. Okay. UCLA finishes fourth rotation. They don't have the beam rotation that they had from semis, but they still had really great routines. Sienna's was stunning. I mean, she's a beautiful athlete. And just like a step on the dismount. And they were trying so hard to stick the dismounts. And yeah, again, like sometimes when you try too hard, it doesn't happen. But UCLA, they fought for every 10th and they finished in second. They are the NCAA runner-up. And that gets me to your NCAA champions, Oklahoma. I am just going to say this right now. After Oklahoma's first rotation, balance beam, there was something inside my soul that just spoke to me. And it was like, there's no way Oklahoma is leaving this meet without being national champions. Like they came out hot on balance beam. They were tied going into rotation 2 with UCLA, but they just, they were good. I mean, they were super clean. I think everybody talked about their last year, 2024, not even last year, but 2024 season. And I'm hoping that it just like fueled them instead of like you can't pay attention to outside noise in general, especially as an athlete, especially as a gymnast, because we're already in our heads. Like, we don't need help getting in our heads. Like, we're already there. We don't need any assistance. But it just kind of seemed like Oklahoma, they just did what Oklahoma does best, and that is good gymnastics. And man, oh man, first rotation, lights out, like really, really good from what I saw. Lily Peterson, adore you, fabulous freshman. Had her mistake in semis, not in the finals. Really cool to see her just kind of that mistake gonzo and move forward. So, yeah, Oklahoma, they looked so good on that first rotation that to me, I was just like, yeah, they're in it. They're in it to win it here. And then they go to floor. And I know some people have mixed feelings about Oklahoma's floor. Some people love it. Some people don't love it. I am one that absolutely loves it. I think their floor is so I don't know how the music gets cut. I don't know who picks it, but this year I thought was just so it was just cool. Like Addison's floor routine, love, absolutely love. And I think it's just the way that the athletes perform it. Cause that's you can hope that an athlete can dance, but if an athlete can't dance, it does make floor a little tricky. And for Oklahoma, it's almost like I don't know if they forced them to learn how to dance, but they're all just like good dancers. And I think I also, maybe it's because KJ just kind of like, she works with them, not against them in their floor routine. So Oklahoma on floor was wowie. Also one of the, so they have three freshmen that were competing really consistently for them. Mueller, Addison Theta, and Lily Peterson. And L's floor routine is another one that I just was like, you just have to watch it. Like I feel like Oklahoma when they went to floor, it was like had to watch. Um, Everyone really I love Jordan Bauer's floor routine. I think it's so cool. I could never do a floor routine like that ever, ever. She can, and she does it so well. And I was not shocked by Oklahoma's performance in the second rotation. So they finished the second rotation. They're headed to vault. Da, da, da. The event that was troublesome at one point in their team's history. We'll just say in their team's history, but a good pal, John, God love him. If anybody didn't hear him in the semis, he said, "Hello, darkness, my old friend," when they went to vault. And guys, that's funny. I laughed a lot. I was actually more mad that I didn't think of that. Um, but they went to vault and they were a little tight, but that's okay because they survived. I mean, they didn't have really any mistakes. Well, they didn't have any major mistakes. They definitely did not stick a lot of vaults, which that's okay. It's almost one of those things. If nobody else is sticking, then let's not try too hard and stick them. Like, I doubt that was their mindset. Actually, I'm really confident that that was not their mindset, but you just have to look at it and say they did great gymnastics, they did great vaults, and they moved on to the fourth rotation. And that's pretty much I felt like in my eyes it was like, all right, and they're done with vault and they're moving on to bars, which bars has always been gosh, bars is always a good event, but like they just have athletes on bars that are so technically perfect that it's just like it makes me just go like, "Oh my gosh." And I just watch and you just watch perfection happen. And their lead off, Danny Severs, absolutely adore. I think she's wonderful. If you haven't noticed, I think a lot of these athletes are wonderful. They're wonderful people as athletes and as human beings, but her gymnastics, she's just so strong. And, she dealt with some injury throughout and just really came into this season with, I felt like, an open mind about where she needed to be and put me where you think I'm going to be the best for my team. Which her in the leadoff, like she's just really, really strong in that position. Some people love leading off, some like being in the middle, some like being at the end, some don't like competing. We all have our things. And She just really does a really nice job of leading off on events, and bars is an event that she just led off and did a heck of a job. And every single routine was nice. I mean, every routine was nice. And Faith Torres, haven't talked about her for Oklahoma yet. Hello, superstar. Faith Torres, superstar. Did a huge, she has like some of the biggest release moves. Her toe point, her execution is so nice. I mean, she's an MVP for Oklahoma. Like, just does really good gymnastics every single weekend. And their 2 athletes that anchor are Audrey Davis and Jordan Bowers. And all Audrey needed was a 9-9 to clench the title. Well, I don't know. Maybe she knew that going in. I was not. I mean, there are some athletes I think that are really like invested in the scoring. I was not. I never knew what was going on. I never knew what score was needed. Like, I don't have any control over judging. Why would I care? Like, I'm just here to do my job, and if they think that my job is worthy of a high score, please give it to me. But Audrey Davis does. She's a nut. Like, Audrey and Jordan do textbook gymnastics. It's true. Like, not the only one that says that. And after Audrey landed, I was a little surprised. I didn't know if she would get the score. She went 9-9 plus. Um, Throughout her bar routine, perfect. But her dismount, just like the tiniest shuffle. And again, when it's like we're getting nitpicky with six judges, you've got 12 eyes on you. So I wasn't surprised that she got the score that she did, but it just took so much pressure off of Jordan. I mean, we saw Audrey Davis and Jordan Bowers, 2 athletes who have just been incredible for the Oklahoma program. Saw their last gymnastics ever, which was really odd to say. Like, it was weird saying, like, oh, this is the last routine we'll watch. Like, this is the last routine they'll do. They're going to take their grips off and they don't have to put them on anymore. Jordan Bowers did, what Jordan Bowers does best. A great bar routine. Had to step on the dismount. Really surprised there. She's normally she sticks that dismount cold, but there are a lot of emotions at this meet, as you can imagine. And I feel like she landed her dismount and they just knew. I mean, they probably, well, again, they might have known before she even went, but Oklahoma, I mean, they took the title. People were saying like, they're back. And I was like, well, they didn't really go anywhere. Like, I think it's fair to say like a team is back when they just had like 1 year that was off. Like, are you going to say LSU is back? No, because they never went anywhere. So I was more so excited to see Oklahoma. They won because they performed the best. They won because their gymnastics was the best that day. And I think it's very, very powerful when you, as a gymnastics community, hopefully we can all kind of agree that they looked really good and they won and they deserved it. And every single team that competed deserved to be there. Every single individual that was there deserved to be there. And that is something that is really cool to see gymnastics kind of turn into, is these athletes are so deserving of their hard work. They are so deserving of just everything that they achieve and more. So Oklahoma ended up winning. Really, really cool. Really proud of every single athlete there, every coach, every trainer, all of you. Just a great job. Now NCAA gymnastics season is over. We're done. On to the next season, which is gonna be crazy because we always say that. That is what I thought of the finals for NCAAs. And I only had 2 questions from you lovely listeners. One, which I actually agreed. It was so at the Super Bowl, they have the MVP. And the question was, who would you pick as the MVP? They mentioned Faith Torres, which actually she is absolutely one of them. But like, I don't think it's fair to only have one. I mean, I know that the MVP is like most valuable player. There's 4 teams. So I would like to pick one from every team. But if I did have to pick one, I think Torres is one, or gosh, I mean, Amari Celestine is also in the mix for sure. I mean, Jordan Childs is up there too. Like, I think it's fair to just pick one. I pick 3. So those are my 3. And then the other question was, were you sad that Florida was not in the finals? And I will always be sad when my alma mater does not advance to something. I really like watching good gymnastics and great gymnastics, and Florida does really good gymnastics, and they do great gymnastics. It's just, fortunately, people and teams did better gymnastics. So to say that I was sad, of course I was sad, but also do think that, the teams that advanced were better that day. And that's all you can say. But of course I was sad. Either way, it's fine. We're on to next season. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. And I'm already excited. That wraps up today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed it. I just want to give a huge thank you to all of you listeners and viewers and subscribers. You have made this season Flipping Out with Bridget Sloan possible. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And also make sure to like and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. Let's make some good life choices out there. And don't forget to be awesome. Bye, guys.